Hello everybody, this is the kubeadm office hours. Today is the 6th of November 2019. We have an agenda document that I'm going to share in chat. Please add your names to the list of participants and also your agenda items to the list of agenda items. Now I'm going to share my screen and walk through the agenda. All right. So, do we have any new participants to the call? Rajib, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, I'm Rajiv. Basically, I'm coming from PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I mostly consult on the open source technology to work clients. So I also maintain our Falco. Recently, we are using multi-cloud. AWS, Azure, and GCP, and Rancher on top of it. Basically, I've started contributing in Kubernetes side very recently. So I thought kubeadm is very great place to start with. So I just joined this call.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you for participating.
Sure.
Do we have anybody else? I don't see anybody new. Okay, let's continue to the PSAs. So I added some items here. We published a kubeadm onboarding video. You can check this out. This is a recording of me talking about what is the proper way to get involved into the kubeadm development process. The video is fairly long, so it has sections that you can skip if you're not interested in this particular area. So yeah, we already shared this in multiple locations, so hopefully folks can find it and join our development. The next PSA is that we have some end-to-end test failures. Me and Fabrizio are working on that. I am going to send some PRs later today, actually. These are not failures in kubeadm, these are failures in our infrastructure, like our tools, parts of the ecosystem. So hopefully we can resolve this fairly soon. The next PSA is that there is a work in progress by SeekAlf to basically, let me show you this issue. So there is a work in progress on enabling a new security feature in Kubernetes that is blocking mirror pods or pods that are created by the kubelet. When you run static pods, you have mirror pods that are viewable by the API server. But there's some security issues with those. And now in kubeadm, we have to whitelist our static pods for the control plane. And the work has already started, but I'm not sure if this is going to even graduate to alpha in 1.17, because there are some questions in the pending PRs. But I wanted to raise attention that if this ends up in 1.17, we have to enable some changes in kubeadm. And I already have a PR for that. It's linked here, I think. Sorry, it's here. And you can participate in these discussions if you're interested. I see a PSA from Ross about component config.
Yeah, so basically I have updated the old PR about removing the internal types from component configs and basically polished it a little bit. So basically we need this in 1.17 in order to be fully detached from /pkg packages from KK.
Do we have any pending discussions in here? I know Fabrizio had comments.
Well, I don't think so. The discussions are quite old, and most of the things we actually already discussed into the component config cap.
Okay, Fabrizio, do you want to LGTM this, or you don't have time maybe?
I will have a look later today or tomorrow morning.
I'd like to have a look too on this.
Okay, guys, please check this and let's LGTM this PR because it has been up there since June. And let's proceed with decoupling from the internal types.
Yeah, and I have another PSA, which is basically we need to either get V1 Bet3 PRs rolling or we need to postpone this for the next cycle. So we have to make some decision. I don't think that any of the V1 Bet3 PRs are merged. And I don't think that they have review cycles right now.
I don't see anything blocking on these PRs. The only question I think was for the addition of object meta, whether we should the modification of cluster name versus name inside the internal type. Did you guys resolve this topic?
I think there was a conversion that converts from cluster name to object meta name field.
Yeah, there is a converter inside of beta 3. So we should do this job automatically.
Okay, and this is fine. It's not going to break anyone. It's not going to complicate things for us in the future.
Well, if we actually have object meta dot name, it's probably the safest variant to use, simply because the full object meta, which comes from meta v1, has a cluster name field inside of it, which is used for slightly different purposes. And basically, the safest variant is to remove cluster name from the internal types.
Okay. Once we release V1 Beta 3 is going to be out there for a long time. If you have any concerns, like should we address anything in the PR? Should we just merge it?
Well, I don't know if we actually want to start merging the full series right now, because there are going to be like 3 PRs, and up to today, up to now actually, there are 2 uploaded, and the third one is coming probably tomorrow. I just need to get some tests fixed, and it's about adding add-on names, and this might be a little bit like causing some discussion in addition. So yeah, I think that we have about a week to get all the things merged. So another possibility is to basically just put these PRs on a pause and don't get the new config version inside a short release, which is basically this one.
That's a good point. At the same time, I think the cluster API had this high priority for enabling the optional fields. Fabrizio, do you have comments?
I think that okay, we are running short of time. I think that we should sync with team, especially for the discussion about how to make typed API consumable from higher level objects, higher level tools. So I think that a good idea is to have the third PR out and book not a special meeting on Friday to review all of them.
Yeah,
and I have also a second comment that if we are going to have V1 Beta 3 out, we should also immediately after the PR merged, we should also working kinder to get the V1 beta 3 tested.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's proceed like this.
Okay, so kinder is also high priority. We don't have that much time. We can potentially enable testing like slightly after the PRs are already in, which is not great. But I also, me and Rafael found something that is later in the agenda about Hypercube, that this is also kind of requiring a change in the API. And it's currently like a problem. Hypercube does not work currently in kubeadm in 1.16 because of changes. So basically our Hypercube flag is broken. And maybe that's also pending to be added.
I think that for most users, it's probably relatively safe to just ignore that flag and probably remove it completely from beta 3.
But sorry, what is the problem with Hypercube out of 3?
I want to explain this later in the agenda.
Okay, let's talk about this later.
So the plan is the following. Until Friday, we are going to add all the PRs, and we're going to book a meeting to discuss everything and decide if we want to introduce this new API version. And then,
agreed for me.
Okay. Rossi, are you going to be able to send the other PR until Friday? It's kind of tight.
Yeah, I think I'm going to finish it. It's actually mostly done, just needs to be polished.
All right, thanks. Next. So this is, I'm not gonna talk much about this, but there is apparently a problem in the scheduler, and a certain feature in Kubernetes recently graduated, and this is called the taint nodes by condition. And kubeup is already enabling this the admission controller with the same name. The problem there is, let me try to pretty much read the explanation. So Huang Wei, he works for IBM. He's one of the 6 scheduling folks, and he provided a pretty good explanation what's going on. So basically, a node joining the cluster is usually tainted with not ready, but there is a possibility that the scheduler may read this node incorrectly as ready. So there is a very weird, very rare case where this can happen. And after long discussions, they decided to mitigate this problem by adding this new controller. And the question is, should we add it to our list of admission controllers? Currently, we only have the node restriction admission controller.
I think like we did, I recall discussing this when I was doing work on 6 scheduling, and the latest, like the least racy solution was adding this admission controller. Like if we're seeing users that are experiencing pods being scheduled on not ready nodes, we might want to enable this.
There is one case, at least, that I mentioned to Huang Wei that this is actually reported by Iago. He saw the same problem where we schedule pods on the control plane nodes that we add in the cluster after the primary control plane node. So there's a similar problem. We already saw it in kubeadm. And I'm not sure, maybe we can enable it, see how it works. And if it's fine, we can leave it, because my understanding here is that this is a recommended approach for Kubernetes as a whole.
Yeah, definitely it's not mandatory, but it's recommended as the admission controller will add the taint. And later, when the node becomes ready, the logic will untaint the node.
Yes. So I'm +1 on adding this controller in this release. Any other comments?
Same for me.
I have a comment. If I'm not sure I remember well, but if I'm not wrong, there is a default list of initial controller which are enabled by the API server, and we are adding the node admission controller explicitly on top of this list. Is this controller being part of the default list, or and so we can get it for free, or it is one of the optional one?
My understanding that the old list of default controllers is kind of not accurate anymore. We used to have this like back in the 110 days or something like that. And like nowadays, I think we only enable this. Yasin, do you know?
Yeah, I think, well, I recall definitely on the on 110s the list being updated, but I'm definitely not sure if this one made it. To me, it's not on the default list.
Okay, so let's just check if it is already the default list. If it is not, I'm fine to add it. I don't see it can cause problems.
It's I don't think it's in the default list because they already enable it explicitly for kubeup in the same PR here.
Yeah, I think that if we are enabling this by kubeup and by kubeadm, and this is done basically without any options or whatever, then it's probably worthy to be on the default list and in the API server. So we should probably ping some API folks to.
Yes, but I agree. Sorry for interrupting. But if I look at the kubeapp code, it is also enabling the default ones.
Those are outdated, or maybe those are specific to the test that kubeup is performing. kubeup is quite outdated, so they, you know, everybody just adds values in there, but they don't care if these values needed.
Okay. Yasin, do you have a quick way to check if it is in the default list? Here it is.
I think minus help and grepping around something around admission or something like that, if I recall correctly.
Okay, so we have to build on top and look in the default list.
This seems to be the default list I found in the basically the flag for the API server.
And there is already taint node by condition.
Yeah.
So
It's
it is already
definitely
part of the default we are deploying it now. Because this is 1.16.
Well, I think this is the default one. If a user overrides the set that is used, I think we should ask if we want to add this one anyway, like we do with the node restriction or not.
But I don't see node restriction as part of the default. Can you see it? I don't see it in the list. So we are enabling this, the node restriction, we enabling it you know, explicitly, but this one should be enabled for us already. In addition to the default ones, you can enable others. So
I see.
I'm going to comment this with Huang Wei. Maybe he doesn't know that this is already part of the default. All right, this is an action item for me. All right, the next one is the hypercube discussion. So the explanation here is that if you check this PR here, sorry, this is an issue. Hypercube used to be published to the GCR bucket for Google, where we have all the other images for the control plane, for core DNS, for kubeproxy, but they stopped doing that in 1.16. So if we look at our config right now, let me open it. This is v1 beta 2. I think we have a hypercube flag somewhere. Okay. The default value is false, obviously, but it's simply a Boolean. And I had some objections to this when we added it, but it made it easy for us. But now this flag cannot work anymore, because if you feed an image repository, it can be any repository that you maintain, but if you enable this to true, you also have to push all the other images to the same repository, like core DNS. etcd, I don't know if Hypercube has etcd. Does anybody know?
No, it doesn't.
No.
All right, so this means that there is a problem with responsibility here. Like, where is Hypercube? Where is the control plane? Like, where are the other required images? And we might be breaking users if we simply remove this Boolean flag.
Yeah, I don't think that this is such a big problem. If you change like a repository, you're supposed to upload to this repository manually or have it somehow ensure that there are the ordinary images there, and this goes the same with the Hypercube image. So I don't think that there is much of a problem there. Probably if you wish to use the Hypercube image by itself, and this is published no longer in the kates.gcr.io repository, you need to change that manually.
Yes, I see. So pushing the extra images is not a problem. Another problem, I guess, is that the whole move of Hypercube to a new repository means that it's going to be community maintained now. It's not going to be part of the release. So this means that when you feed a Kubernetes version, I'm trying to understand if this is even a problem, okay? If you feed a Kubernetes version, the Hypercube image is not going to be following the Kubernetes version anymore. So yeah, that's a problem, I think.
Is this a stated intent by DIMS, or?
I don't know if it's stated, but if it's community maintained, it becomes best effort. So it might skip releases completely.
Hi, can I chime in here?
Hi.
This is okay. So the first data point is, at least for 117, we will have a Hypercube image. But the image itself is going to be of a bigger size, because we will essentially be bundling all the individual binaries and then having a script-based redirector to redirect. Instead of the hypercube.go, we'll have a shell script which will turn around and call the individual commands. This is at least for 117. So for 117, we don't have to worry about supporting this exact, use hypercube image true false flag. Tahowever, we need to test it to see if any of, I have a PR up. It's getting reviewed right now on this new script-based image. So that's the plan of action for 117. And we are going to remove the command hypercube.go in 117, right? And then the idea is, if somebody wants to do something around Hypercube, it's up to them. We are not going to do, we're not going to have a repository in Kubernetes SIGs for maintaining that code. And the reason is, if we maintain hypercube.go, it means that we are vendoring everything from KK. correct? And if and that is something that we want to discourage people. And if we do it ourselves, then people are going to say, look, you're doing it yourself, then you should let us do as well. So we want people to use the individual repositories from stage, that are published from staging, and we don't want people to use KK directly. So just for that reason, Jordan came up with this idea of a script-based redirector. So that's the plan. So for going forward, we want people to switch to the individual container images for the different components. We will no longer have a hypercube, but we'll support this script-based hypercube for a few cycles. Does it help?
Yes. In terms of the versioning of the potential, community maintained hypercube in the future, do you think that they might decide to not follow the Kubernetes versioning anymore?
They can do whatever they want. If somebody shows up to do something, they can do whatever they want. And it's not under our control, and we can't guarantee what they're going to do.
Yes.
Thank you, Dean, for the update. I think that from a kubeadmin point of view, it will be fine to clean up the flag, and because there is the customize feature that allows the user to use the hypercube image, and will free up us from any decision that the project takes. So I think that it is fine. Again, I would like to discuss this with team because it is a user-facing change, and it goes in the bucket of changes for the API from my point of view.
Yeah, I think that we can safely remove the flag from beta 3, and we can probably warn users that they're a little bit on their own with regards to modern Kubernetes version and hypercube use in the old API versions. And also, I think that if we actually go with the shell script image-based hypercube, this will probably turn off a lot of the usual hypercube users, which basically use it to provision like control plane nodes and basically save some disk space by using a hypercube image to run all of the control plane components, as opposed to just several images which total in size more than the hypercube image.
I think that we should also write an email to the mailing list explaining what is happening and why we are thinking to remove it, and collect feedback there.
Yeah, this is a nice idea. I think we can do that.
So I agree with all the things that you said, Ross, including and Fabrizio, including collecting feedback. I did post an email this morning asking people to go look at my PR and if they had any feedback. So you can use that when you're collecting feedback as well.
Thank you, Dims.
An email to the Kubernetes dev.
Yes.
Okay, great.
All right. So we're not going to take any action for potential V1 beta 3, I guess.
Probably we can, as long as we are like releasing V1 beta 3 this cycle. This patch is going to be like really simple.
Okay. Just a side question. What is our upgrade story of Hypercube based deployment?
Currently, it's like any upgrade, so it is managed by kubeadm. But if we are going to release to make this change, we should issue an action required. So the user before to upgrade, they should create the patches, the customized patches for continuing to use customized Hypercube.
I see. Or maybe we can keep this. We can keep this the flag, the Boolean flag. We can ask the users, do we have users for Hypercube? And we can remove it in the next iteration of the API with an action required.
That is a possibility too, but we should probably just ask users what are their uses of Hypercube. And I suspect that the majority of users who use Hypercube are doing it to save disk space. And with the new Hypercube images being actually substantially, like at least as large as the total combined sizes of the control plane images, I don't think that many users are going to stick to using Hypercube anymore, and they'll probably fall back to individual component images itself.
Also, like if you want to be able to round trip from V1 beta 2 to V1 beta 3, I'm not sure if we should remove it right away when shipping beta 3, because I'm not sure if we'll be able to do some conversions between the two versions.
Yeah, we have such cases currently. We can basically remove it and either dump some errors here and there during conversion, or basically stick a little bit the fuzzer test into not fuzzing into this.
Yeah, one other possibility is basically storing into some annotation or something that is similar. But the idea is from the API conventions that are read, basically we should not lose any data provided by the user.
All right,
That's a good point. The problem is that we are not sure that even if we preserve the flag, we can guarantee the functionality. So this is a turn one. I think that we should table the discussion because there are other items in agenda, but and continue commenting on the issue. But it is a turn one because the real problem is that the condition outside kubeadm are changed, and it is difficult for us to continue to offer the same service.
Agreed.
all right, I'm going to log an issue and let's discuss there what we're going to do. So this was an issue, another one by the last project. This is a developer called Sylvia. She sent a PR for this. And basically the TLDR here is that we have kubeadm create token print join command, which generates your new token and prints you the command for that. We also, you can see the join command after init. But for certificate key, when new control plane nodes are joining, we don't have a way to basically print the join command. We have a way to upload the certificates and generate the key, but we don't have a way to print the join command. And there's a combination here because, you know, when you're joining control plane nodes, you want to see both the join token and also the certificate key. And we don't, me and Rafael discussed this, ideally, we don't want to mix the commands and the backends, because if you enable create token to print certificate key, this means that it has to call the backend to upload the certificates. and if you enable the phase that uploads the certificates to print the token, is going to now use the token backend, which is not good, I guess. There's another proposal to add a new command, which we're kind of late in the cycle. This might not happen, but the command is something like, create join command or print join command. And based on this command, we can execute the separate backends, create a new token, create a new certificate key, upload certificates, and print the command.
I'm kind of torn around this, because one of the principles of the certificate key is that the certificate key should never be stored in the cluster, and it is never stored in the cluster for security reason. So there is already a command to generate. We can use a phase to generate this certificate key, a new certificate key. So I understand the need of the user, but there are also security concerns, and this is why we are keeping certificate keys separated from the rest of the things. So I don't have a good answer now, but we should keep in mind that there are security concerns around this.
Yeah, there are security concerns, but using the phase that is for upload certificates, we generate this. Sorry, we generate this key. We don't keep it in the cluster. I think the problem here is that the users want, this UX enhancement to see the full join command. Currently, it's not possible to generate the full join command after the cluster initialization had finished, after the Bootstrap token has expired or the certificate key has expired. So this is not reproducible anymore. You have to execute the two commands separately. That's the create token join command, and then you have to also execute the phase, and you have to concatenate the two results into a command. That is the problem I've seen from other users as well, including Josh Rosso. He made a video tutorial, and he slightly, briefly mentioned this problem as well.
Again, there are reasons to keep the things separated. Probably this will be mitigated when we have machine readable output for both.
Yes, I was thinking the same. Machine readable output is definitely a potential option here. If you parse both outputs, you can create a command. But this means that when we do the print join command for token, it has to be in separate fields. The CA hash, the token have to be in separate fields, and also the certificate key from the init phase. And these fields, you have to combine them after that. I think this is a good mitigation long term. Maybe that's what we have to do instead.
Or another option is to let the user to pass a certificate key to the command that today's print the join.
Yes,
so,
that's an option. This is also kind of combining responsibility, not that much, but I have a bit of an objection for that particular command in general, because a join command nowadays does not only consist of a token. So it doesn't even make sense anymore for kubeadm create -- print join command, kubeadm token create print -- print join command to be responsible for printing a command, because nowadays the command also includes this other aspect, which is a completely different backend.
yes, but if we simply pass a token, a certificate key, and we add it to the command without logics, So if the user wants a new certificate key, it has to call the alpha phase, grab the new certificate key, and then if we want to concat to the join command, it can pass to the current command for printing.
Okay, I think this is the best option. I mean, it's not great. We can add the flag to create token to pass a certificate key in there. But this also means that it has to add the -- control plane, I guess. It has to generate also the -- control plane flag for join.
If there is a certificate key, it is a join control plane.
Yeah. Okay.
And because to be honest, I think that adding a new top level command is even worse than this.
Yes. To be honest, I think we should deprecate the flag for -- print join command completely, and let the users manage this with structured output. Because, like I said, this command nowadays has multiple responsibilities. It has a responsibility to print a token for worker nodes, but nowadays control plane nodes demand something else. So this command is kind of incomplete. This flag, rather. And any votes if you guys want to proceed with the addition of the -- certificate key to be added to kubeadm token create?
I'd say that we should probably wait a little bit just to like freshen up and think a little bit more on this. And anyway, this is a backlog issue, and it's at the end of a short and busy cycle. So let's table it for now.
Okay, if somebody has comments, please add them to this issue. I'm also going to add my comments and what we discussed here. Fabrizio, you have a topic? You are on mute.
Oh, I clicked in the wrong place. So there was a thread in Kubernetes dev with regards to a cap, which is changing which is cleaning up the meaning of the node labels. And I was reading through the cap, and it is there is quite a detailed description, and I would like to check with this team if there is something that we should do. My understanding is no. And the email thread was specifically about a single node cluster, but I think that this does not impact for kubeadmin. But reading along the cap, it seems that there is something that we should do for kubeadmin, but for the next cycle. So if you go to instruction for deployers, the link in the middle of the email, below, okay. Okay, this paragraph explains what kubeadmin is, or all the deployer expected to do, and so it is saying that the Kubernetes, the node role Kubernetes master label today is preventing for being today as a behavior that will be removed in future. So okay, I'm fine with this, but the first consideration is that for single node deployments, we are suggesting user to remove this label. And so there will be no change for our user. But the problem is that they are cleaning up some linked behavior to this label. And if we don't do nothing in the next cycle, what will happen? It will happen that it will be possible to have services, have external load balancer services scheduled on master, and also there will be a different behavior for node eviction on masters. So my takeaway is that we have to, in the next cycle, we have to add two labels to our master nodes, which are the one below in this document. So I kindly ask you, all of you, to read the document. I will open an issue, and I kindly ask you to read the document and see if you get the same takeaway of me or different, or something different.
I'm a little bit confused by this particular part here. Like, why is not ready being deprecated? This is a bit confusing to me. Are we talking about the node condition not ready?
From what I understand, and this is why I'm asking people, so I'm not 100% sure about this. From what I understand, they are not changing the not ready, but they are changing how not ready affect the cluster which are marked with node master label.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well. Something is adding the labels, and we're not going to get rid of not ready for sure. That would be crazy.
Yes, and yeah, starting from this assumption, I arrived to some conclusion, but I kindly ask people to double check, because it is not easy.
This also conflates with the. Oh, sorry, this is labeling for nodes. I made a mistake. Okay. So I I saw the discussion that predates this KIP, and I had some comments, and I think Clayton explained that what kubeadm is currently doing, we don't have to do anything in the future. So why?
Yeah, I follow the discussion, but rereading the paragraph, the next paragraph, so cluster deploys the reply on existing behavior. So if you go, it seems to me that we have to apply.
But why should we apply this? This is something.
Not this one. Please go to the next paragraph.
But I wanted to comment something here, that if somebody wants to use the exclude balancer, so if somebody is using this, I think they should apply the labels manually. And I want to. Yeah.
But this is not the case of kubeadm. This is why I'm moving to the next paragraph.
Test plan.
No, cluster after. Okay, here under your cursor. So we are cluster deployer, and we are relying on the existing behavior. Okay. So it seems that after upgrading to 118, we have to apply the following two labels.
My understanding is that, like, if we are relying on excluding masters from the service load balancer, we should apply these. But if we're not relying on on this feature, my understanding is we should not.
Yeah.
The point is that we are relying on this behavior because today it is implicit in the label, and tomorrow it will not be implicit. So we should apply the label. This is my take.
Sure, but again, this is targeting users that use the service load balancer.
Yeah, but kubeadm is used in cloud.
I see, but my understanding is that this seems like an action required for all those people that currently use this. Why should we bake this in kubeadm? Is it a best practice? Is it a minimal viable, like, following our principles? Like for the same goes for like PSP. I know that PSP is being deprecated, but why should we enable PSP by default? If it's still a practice for some users, but
Okay, I cannot. We can discuss about this, but at least we have to issue a action required to our user.
yeah, let's have more discussions about this. This got me very intrigued because at the same time we don't want to break users. This is part of the instruction for deployer, so maybe we are supposed to. Because you understand this the best, Fabrizio, do you want to comment on and ask simply Clayton here? Attention deployers, can you ask him? Hey,
Yes, I will reply to this email and open an issue to track the problem.
Yeah, okay. I mean, if Clayton says, hey, you really have to do it, we are just probably going to do it anyway, so. All right.
Does this only apply to self-hosted clusters, though?
I don't think it applies to self-hosted clusters. It's basically to anybody who is using the service load balancer functionality. To my understanding, after this short discussion.
Okay. I'll read it. I need to read more on it, anyways.
Okay. How much time do we have? 5 minutes. Any final topics? I wanted to propose before asking the final topics question. I wanted to propose that tomorrow we can book a meeting, something like perhaps 1 hour before this meeting, but tomorrow we can book, to do some grooming of the backlog. Do we have enough people that want to participate?
I'm sorry, but tomorrow I can't join.
Yeah, same for me.
I think that it will be a little bit packed for me too.
All right, let's. I cannot do it on Friday, so let's try to do this next week, I guess, because we are pending a backlog grooming and we haven't done this properly since a number of weeks already.
I'm okay.
This week is also hard for Rafa and I.
Yes,
I'm okay for Monday.
all right. Let's see if we can do this next week. Any final agenda topics? Does anybody have anything else?
I have only a brief comment that this week, first of all, I thank you, Lubomir, for the video for the boarding. And this week, I had the chance also to open some, last week, to open some new, good for new contributor issue. And it works. So it is. I opened 3 issues and they were taken and solved in 2 days. So we have really to work on this to get a new contributor up to help us.
Yes, as long as we have problems that are simpler to solve, that qualify for the help wanted and good first issue labels, we are definitely going to get new contributors. For the rest of the areas, I definitely think that we might as well need some mentoring and private sessions explaining like how to fix a certain problem, because so a lot of the things are not so easy. All right, anything else?
I have been working on some phases stuff, but I really think that for upgrade, but I really think we should hold till next cycle anyways to even start merging any of it. I've been working on just doing some testing and making sure that I'm solid on that. So I have been working on it. I just want to let you guys know that update.
Okay. We are getting really in the last week, so.
Yeah. There's no reason to change any of that right now. That's
okay. It's fine. You can still send any PRs if you want, but we're just not going to merge them because of the code freeze.
yes, that's what I was saying. I have one up, but yeah, I don't really want it merged. I have whip on it just so that not.
Okay, no problem. All right, folks, we are out of time. Let's have 2 minutes back and leave the room for the Quester API, folks. See you next week. Bye-bye.